In the workshop, renovating an old boiler, part 5, painting the boiler housing and fitting an asbestos equivalent. There's a definite sequence involved in doing this job, and the first part of the sequence is to rub down the old paint. And that's what I'm doing at the moment with a piece of Scotch-Brite. Scotch-Brite is very useful to have in the workshop. It's like an aggressive scouring pad. It's like a scouring pad with attitude. It really cuts through the paint. I would also use Scotch-Brite to remove the tool marks on any pieces of metal that I'd turned in the lathe. The old paint is not in bad condition and it's very well stuck to the metal, so I don't need to disturb it too much. The Scotch-Brite's doing two things. It's removing any surface rust on the part, and there is a little bit here and there, but it's scratching the paint underneath, and this scratched surface will be a very good key for the next coat of paint that's going to go over the top of this. At different magnifications under a microscope, the surface would probably look like either a ploughed field or at a higher magnification, hills and valleys, and the new paint will settle into the valleys and stay where it's put. Before painting the component, I'm going to use some panel wipe. I use this a lot, it's really good stuff. Panel wipe and a cloth quickly removes any debris on the surface of the paint. Before painting, I need to mask this part off. This is the blowdown valve, and on the first attempt I missed a bit, but I got it the second time round. I could have removed it, but this way is just quicker. Then, as usual, it's into the outer part of the workshop for a coat of paint. I'm painting this boiler casing in high temperature black, and this is great paint. It dries very quickly and leaves an extremely good finish. It also dries with a matte finish, and the original paint was also matte, so it's going to look just like an improvement on the original, I hope. It's important to carry out any painting like this in a very well ventilated area, and in this case I'm about 2 feet from a wide open door. This paint appears to be very quick drying, but I left it for quite a while before I touched it, because what I need to do now is fit the asbestos substitute. This is the modern equivalent of asbestos, and at the moment it's not known to cause any serious diseases, but who knows, in another 20 years maybe it will. But it doesn't smell like asbestos, it doesn't feel like asbestos, and it doesn't taste like asbestos, so I think I'm probably going to be okay with it. I'm cutting the first panel with a very old pair of scissors, and this is where it's going to fit, but not like this. Using the back part of the scissors blade and a ruler, I just score the material. And this allows the asbestos substitute to bend like this, so when I put it into the boiler's casing, it looks okay. I lined the sides as well, and then I repeated the process, so I had a double layer of this stuff inside this area of the boiler casing, because it's this part that's going to get the hottest. I did actually video this part of the process, but unfortunately all you could really see was my hand. Incompetence in the video department, and please read that as incompetence, not incontinence. The next part to line is the top, and I simply press the top down onto a piece of the material. Then all I have to do is just cut around the edge, and that way I get a piece of this asbestos substitute that's exactly the right size to fit in the chimney support part of the boiler. But I need to cut a hole for the chimney, and also it was a bit tight, so I'm just trimming a bit off. Once again, to get an outline to cut to, I just press the material against the chimney hole. I was going to go straight in with the scissors, but then I thought, no, that's not a good way to do it. This is much better. Use a scalpel to initially cut out the centre hole. Then I used a pair of scissors to neatly cut around the centre hole, and when I pressed it in place, it's another minor victory for the calibrated eye. The calibrated eye, by the way, is just something that you develop with practice. In this clip, I'm tapping the lid into position using my hand. And I must say at this stage, this boiler casing is very well engineered because I turned it round and it fits in both positions and the screw holes line up. What I need to do now is refit the countersunk bolts, or screws, or machine screws, or whatever you want to call them, that fasten the chimney support to the top of the casing. Then, after another application of panel wipe to clean up all the particles that have found their way onto the paint, it's back into the outer part of the workshop to give it yet another coat of paint. This second coat of paint not only reinforces the first coat of paint, but it also paints the countersunk bolts that I've just fitted. I'd like to take this opportunity to say a really big thank you to my Patreon supporters, old and new. Without your support, I could not do this. Making these videos takes a substantial amount of time. Apart from doing the job, I have to video the job, then transfer the video into the editor, edit the video, voice it over, bounce it down and upload it to YouTube. And this takes about 35 hours a week. So once again, a big thank you for your financial support. Where else would you be able to see a video and watch the paint actually drying in real time? The good news is that the next video will be more exciting because I'll be putting the boiler back together. And that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful.